Hey YouTube, Network Wizkid here, and I am bringing you a slightly different video today. For those that have been following me on my Instagram mainly would have probably seen that I've been in the process of actually doing a new PC build, and I wanted to share the results with you guys so that you can see kind of how it went actually building the machine, from getting the parts to putting it together. I did want to do a video where I went step by step through that, but I just purely didn't have enough time to do that, especially with work through the week and other commitments as well. So you'll see little bits of kind of the sort of thing that I went through, and you'll see the complete build. What you're looking at there is the completed build in its entirety, and we'll speak about spec and parts and stuff just in a moment, but I must admit it's a rather good looking system, and it's turned out actually better than I thought it would. Really pleased with the build, what's happened there, and kind of how it's all kind of come together as well. So I think the motivation around this was to ensure that I had a machine that was kind of sufficient for the coming years. The machine that I've just actually got rid of was a machine that I built around 6 years ago, so it was quite old. If you're going off today's technology and how much technology has advanced in that short space of time, so I felt it was time for me to put together a new parts list and go out there and build a new PC. One thing I would say is, with the current market at the moment, as we all know, prices, inflation is driving the cost of everything up. And especially with the semiconductor issue at the moment, which is a global issue, PC parts are not excluded from the kind of supply and demand from the semiconductor issues that are going on. So one thing that I did find is that some of the prices that I paid for some of these parts were a lot more than you would typically look at paying for some of these parts, especially when you start looking at GPUs, especially if you wanted, the high-end GPUs, which are kind of hard to come by, and as a result have driven the prices up for those as well. But nevertheless, I wanted to make sure that I kind of had a future-proof PC, if there's such a thing that exists. I think what I mean by that is a device that's going to last me, for maybe the next five or so years before I build another one, and I think I've managed to do that. So when we talk about spec, I'll just quickly run through some of the parts in this system. So as always, when building a PC, you need to decide kind of whether you want to go down the AMD route or whether you want to go down the Intel route. Now, the battle's been going on for years for those that are kind of into the PCs and follow that, and I must admit, AMD's come a long way, and with their new processors, the Ryzen 9s, I must say they're quite impressive. And when I was looking at the benchmarks for some of these CPUs, I looked at a couple of i9s, and then I looked at some AMD processors. I decided that the best one for me for what I wanted to build was going to be an AMD CPU. So I ended up getting a 5950X, Ryzen 9 5950X, which is capable of 3.4 gigahertz as standard, and that can also be boosted. So it's got 16 cores. So it's pretty beefy CPU, I must say, and it's kind of up there in the benchmarks as well. So quite happy with that. For that CPU, what I wanted to do, and you can probably see that there, is go with a liquid cooler, which is also recommended for this type of CPU. So I also went with one of the Corsair CPUs, liquid coolers, CPU liquid coolers, and it seems to be keeping the temperatures down quite nicely at the moment. I've not really done anything intensive on the machine yet, but I did test out a game earlier on, running on Ultra, and yes, the GPU is probably doing most of the work, but still the temperature inside the box as a whole was sufficient. So quite happy with that, and we'll kind of talk about the other fans I've kind of put in there as well. The motherboard, again, another important factor. I decided to go with a Asus Republic of Gaming Corsair Hero Wi-Fi. So it's got Wi-Fi 6 built in as this board. I must say it's a really nice looking board. Feels premium as well. So I'm really happy with that kind of decision to kind of go down that route as well. RAM, now obviously those that follow me know that, you know, RAM, and well, those that follow me kind of know that, you know, labbing is a big thing. And yes, I've got the server to kind of do a lot of the legwork, but you know, sometimes it's nice to have sufficient RAM on your PC in order to kind of do some of the labbing, etc. on there as well. So although I wanted to make a machine that was capable of, you know, high-end gaming, so 4K gaming and the rest of it, I also wanted a machine that was capable of being able to support my studies and lab work as well. So with the RAM, I ended up going with maxing out the RAM on the board to 128 gigs, and I decided to stick with Corsair for that, because we, as you can kind of see there in the board, in the PC there, I've managed to get the software where we can kind of make sure that the colors are synced together with the same products. And that's the same with the fans. So moving on with the fans, you know, again, I went with some Corsair fans. I decided to put as many fans in the box as I could. So I ended up with well, aside from the liquid cooler, which comes with the 3 fans, I purchased 6 more in there. So you've got a total of 9 there, and then the GPU also has 3 fans on it as well. So there's quite a lot of fans in there to keep things cool, which is what you want when you're kind of running resource intensive programs and tasks. Storage was another important thing, and it's actually something that I've not finished off actually until tomorrow. This board supports NVMe SSD, and it's got 2 slots, so that allows me to basically attach the SSD directly to the motherboard, and it's slightly more efficient than running, you know, your standard SSD or definitely the hard disk drives. So I decided to go with a 2 terabyte NVMe that would be used for everyday tasks, you know, the operating system and normal stuff like that. And then I also went with a Western Digital Black SN850 1TB NVMe, which would be used for purely gaming and maybe a little bit of recording, where I need them read and write speeds to be quite high. Now onto the GPU. I wanted to get a beefy GPU so that I could game on it whenever possible, and all the rest of it. So I decided to go with a RTX GeForce, so an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 380 Ti, and that's got 12 gigs, and it's a gaming OC version from Gigabyte. So again, quite a beefy graphics processor, which should last some time. Packed full of features. I'm not going to kind of discuss all that on here, just give you an overview of kind of what I'm running here. And to fit all this stuff in, I went with the well-known Leon Li PC 011 Dynamic ATX Full Tower case. A really nice case. It's got tempered glass on the front, tempered glass on the side, and it's just a big case for me to be able to hide all the cables, as well as get all those fans in there, and also get everything in there looking nice, as you can see. And that's it. That's pretty much it. I mean, obviously the power supply unit, I had to make sure that there was enough power in there to power all this, and then a little bit extra if I wanted to add things in the future. So I've kind of future-proofed that a little bit. But yeah, that's it. So for those that kind of looked at the kind of images that were the before, now you can see that after. This is a complete build. And one more thing actually I added to this was, you might not be able to see it because I've made it quite discreet, is I purchased a GPU stand. So for those that know, these RTXs, or these graphics cards in general these days, are quite big, and depending on how you kind of seat these inside the case, you can sometimes end up with GPU sag, which is a term in the PC world. Now, I'm not saying mine was doing it, because I don't think it was after I screwed it in and everything else, but just to kind of avoid that over time, what I wanted to do was buy a GPU stand. So it's nice, small thing, simple and effective, and it does the job. So yeah, really happy with that as well. So yeah, that's a quick rundown of my new machine. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, let me know if you're looking at building a machine, and if you want any tips, then reach out to me.